Welcome back to the Thomas Freeme TV and podcast show. This is Thomas Freeme, and I have another great episode for you tonight. But first, let me kick off with the intro.
You can't handle the truth.
So we are back, and this is Saturday Night Cell Block. I'm introducing, each show as it rolls out in my head, and I design, just some little visuals to make it a little bit easier for the viewer, whatnot. But I don't want to take away from the discussions, and how important that they really are. So tonight's discussion, I have Mr. Mark Caruso. Now, Mr. Mark Caruso and I had done a show previously. He was running for office, I believe, for a different seat, and now he's coming in trying to win the seat for mayor for Winter Springs, Florida. So, bringing Mark into the new cell block. What is going on, partner?
Good. How are you?
All right. Let me can you bring your screen down just a little bit?
You mean the camera?
Yeah, the camera, and let me adjust.
How's that?
Perfect. And let me adjust mine on this end. So, what seat was you running for currently, and what are you running for now?
Well, I was running for House District 38, state representative, and dropped out of that race. I wasn't getting enough support. The guy that is in the seat now, he's got way too much money. You just can't compete with it. Even the person he's running against now that took over the spot that I was in, she can't even probably come close to him as far as money wise, and he's probably going to win anyway. So it might have been best that I did drop out of it. But, at the same time, it was a little disappointing because, my heart was in it and I wasn't getting enough support. So, it is what it is. So now I'm running for mayor of Winter Springs, where I live, actually. And there you go. You see that right there. So that's where I'm at. And now we're, a couple of days until Election Day. And I'm feeling pretty good. I think I'm going to win. Got a lot of support here in the community. My background speaks for itself. People like that. I have two running mates that are running for commission. They're doing great. I think it's going to be, win across the board for all three of us. People here want change. They want to vote the incumbents out because they're not doing anything. And that seems to be, what's going on in a lot of cities.
So you're going to be mayor?
Yeah, it still hasn't sunk in yet.
What do the responsibilities of a mayor have? Like, what would your daily routine be?
Well, the job of the mayor is basically you're the face of the city. You get involved with the community. You talk to the residents, see what they need, see what needs to be fixed, see what things are going on, and then you bring that back to the commission. You bring it to the city manager. You get things done. Together as a group, and you work for the people, and you do what the people need. So right now, the biggest thing in Winter Springs, we got hit real bad with the hurricane, and we had a lot of people that lost their homes because of neglect by the city. They didn't clean out the storm drains. They didn't dredge the creek that we have running through the city. So all that water backed up into people's houses, and they are very, very upset, and rightfully so. They should be. Mm-hmm. So, one of the first things that I want to start right away is, number one, cleaning out the storm drains throughout the whole city. And I found out that we're going to have to buy the equipment because apparently the city sold the equipment like 7 years ago. Go figure. That explains why they didn't do the work. And of course, dredge out the creek.
Who did they sell the equipment to?
I don't know that yet. But when I get in there, I'm gonna look into a lot of things with a lot of money that's missing, a lot of equipment that's missing.
Because the
They got,
taxpayers bought all that
you're
equipment,
right,
right?
100%. And I'm gonna get to the bottom of it because you know me with corruption, you
Absolutely.
know. So um, they pretty much did away with a lot of the services that we have in the city, and they outsourced it. Like our water, for example, we went from having our own public works department that handled our own water, and now we hired a company that handled the Flint, Michigan water. The company's called Veolia. So why we hired this company is beyond me, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it, and I'm pretty sure I know what it's about. And most of the time, it's
Yeah.
them, you know. So
Well, we the
I'm going to find
people,
out.
yeah, we the people appreciate that because I mean our pockets are hit hard enough as it is now, and to know
Yeah,
that we're paying all of these taxes to barely get by, and that our government isn't doing, they're misappropriating the money some kind of way. We
yeah,
really appreciate officials that are willing to get in there and look and see what's going on for our sake.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
so
a lot of people, that I talk to, they're like, we like you. You're a normal person. You're not a politician, and I'm not. I can't even talk like a politician. I can't even lie to people the way some of these guys do. It's just it'll hurt me. It'll hurt my own pride and my ethics if I lie, if I even try to lie. I just can't do it. It's not in
yeah,
me.
and that's what we need, man. We just need people, either love them or hate them. One of the biggest, uh, one of the biggest compliments I would hear about Trump from everybody was the fact that while we were going through COVID, the man was on TV every day, right? He was on TV every day and he was informing us. We saw him, and that gives us comfort. That gives us comfort to see our representatives working, to know that they're doing something. Now, when the cameras go off and stuff, who knows?
Yeah,
But all I'm saying is that from the people's perspective, when we see our representatives actually doing something, it gives us comfort. It makes us feel good. So, I mean, again, we appreciate that. And this is why I have you on my show, because I know that you're a stand-up individual, and you have a record for going at corruption. And correct me if I'm wrong, the last interview that we had, you were griping about the water at that time, right?
yes,
That was one of the main reasons why you were going in for that seat,
yep,
because of the water issue. And this was
yes,
prior to the hurricane that we just had, and you were
right.
warning these people.
I was. Everybody, there was a lot of people that were warning them because, I when I got involved with the mayor race, it was the people that actually live here in my city that reached out to me because they knew I was running for the House, and they knew that I really didn't have uh, a chance to really beat the guy that's in there now. And I respected the way they approached me, and they like, listen, we know that you really can't beat him. You don't have the money, you don't have the backing, and all that stuff. But we want you to try and run for mayor. And I listened to them and I did it. I made the change, and here we are. We're about to win.
Well, God bless you.
This is the way.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, speaking of which, a lot of what's going on down in South Florida with, the Parkland shooting. Now, I know you and I just touch basis, and you haven't really been following that too much because, you
Right.
got your campaign and all that going
Mm-hmm.
on. But you are aware of the fact that this kid walked into the school and killed 17 people and whatnot.
Yes.
He pled out to the charges, and he was sentenced to essentially 36 or 37 life sentences consecutively. I mean, they pretty much did everything that they could. The judge did everything that she could in her power to eliminate his life. To the extent that she garnished his commissary until all restitution is paid off. You're talking all restitution is paid off.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do. There's ways around that.
There is. And a couple people had asked me about that, and I said, well, sure, there's ways around that. And what I would do is, there's not ways around the garnishment. But
Right.
what I would do is I would have to have money sent to another inmate's books, and
Yep.
he would have to go to the store for me, and
Right.
fill out a list. But in the case of individuals like this, who's going to? Nobody's going to go to the commissary for this guy. If he puts books on anybody's commissary, they're going to take it.
Don't don't think that's always true,
Mm.
because as long as you have that in prison, you can get almost anything you want. You know that.
Well,
So
this is true.
if
And
he has money, if he has family that has money, and they have a way to get money to him or through other inmates, oh, you better believe that they're going to get it for him, but they're also going to charge him at the same time. He might wind up with half, of what he actually gets, and he's got to give the other half to the inmate that's getting the money from the outside. That's how it works. You know that.
right. Yeah, well, there's no question, and there's ways around everything.
Right.
And with that, we're looking at sentencing this person. This kid is 23 years old now. And
Mm-hmm.
you're talking, let's just say another 50 years. Let's give him 50 years. Let's just say he lives to 73 inside of prison. That's 50 years at $36,000 a year. That's almost $2 million
Mm-hmm.
for this one individual to house him under these conditions
True.
for the rest of his life until he dies.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the state of Florida pays its executioner $150 per execution. So how do you feel, Mark? How do you feel in situations like this when you have an individual that committed such a crime and just changed the scope of a community? What do you do with this individual? Do you put him to death? Are you for the death penalty in fashions like that? Or
That's a real, hard discussion, because you have a lot of emotions, from the families, and you have to listen to the families, and, in a case like this, there's so many families, that, the judge has to make a decision, or the prosecutor, do we listen to all the family members? They want the death penalty. Do we go for the death penalty? Or do we go for the surefire win, which is life? There could have been reasons why, they didn't want to go for life. It's hard to say, and it's a real sensitive issue, that it's not easy to talk about.
in this case, 3 of the 12 jurors in the deciding factor, because in 2016 it used to be up to the judge. The
Mm-hmm.
jury, it was discretionary, you might as
Right.
well say. They would give their discretion, and the judge really could overturn that ruling if they wanted to. But in 2016, they ruled that is no longer so. The power went back into the jury, and the jury ultimately decides life or death. So
Right.
in this case, 3 of the 12 found mental capacity to be a reason for the crimes, and that this is the reason why he got life versus death because of his competence,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, with everything surrounding, his case, I don't think he's going to live his entire life, long in prison, in my opinion. I think either the inmates are going to get him, or other unfortunate circumstances.
And I'm glad that you said that, because that's exactly what we have the family running around screaming about now. The family is crying for
emotions.
this man
Right.
to be brutally murdered in prison.
Right.
And me coming from that environment, and me having that type of mentality in there at the time, specifically dealing with pedophiles, at the time that I'm dealing with pedophiles, I'm justifying it in my mind by thinking that I'm doing the public good. I'm doing what the public wants me to do.
Right.
And me and a gentleman named Demetrius on our Thursday night show, we talk about this image that we have to have, because Thursday nights we're kind of carrying this conversation about teen killers. Why is our teenagers killing so quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And he brought up a story about this kid in football. And on the back of his jersey was the name Killer Mike. And this kid was living up to that name, that expectation that was being put on him to commit the violence that he was in the game. And I think we put a lot of those expectations on our children, on our communities, on certain people, specifically prisoners. Because that's what I felt like. I felt like when I was in there and I was doing these things that I was doing the public service. This is what they wanted me to do. I hear him say it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to pedophiles. And we're hearing this here. But what makes them any different, Mark? What makes them any different from that kid who went into that school? He wanted to kill people. He wanted people dead. And now you have these people in here, even their own children, wishing that this human being goes in there and gets murdered. What makes them different?
Well, what makes them different is, yes, they're family of those kids, you know, and it's emotions. So it's hard to put yourself, you know, in the same mindset as they are, because they lost a loved one, and you really can't, you know, put yourself in their position to understand how they're feeling. You know, it's emotions right now. They want them dead. You know, that's going to happen. That's normal. Give it a year from now, 2 years from now, they might look back at it and they're like, you know what, I was wrong for thinking that. You know, there's a lot of things that could change the way they feel, and it's hard. It's really hard, and nobody could ever put themselves in that unless they've been through it. So that's
absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. And that goes for both sides, you know, and we have to start thinking about that as far as these killers as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you just said, you know, the emotion is there and the emotion is real. But there's something in there that in our conscious that tells us not to act on those emotions.
Yeah.
And if that is not there, that mechanism is not there, then what stops us? What stops us from acting out these emotions? Mm-hmm. And what I see today is a bunch of Americans who live in their emotions.
Yeah.
They're constantly in their emotions from the moment they get up to the moment they go to sleep. And it's become ingrained in them. So if they're not in their emotions, they feel out of place. They have to create drama. They have to create something to be back in their emotions so they feel comfortable in their skin again. Right. And this is what I see out of a lot of Americans, you know, and it's a scary place to be.
They want an eye for an eye. That's what they want. And you know, unless you've, you know, lost someone like that, you don't know what it feels like. So, you know, it's hard. And I think they're going to get their ultimate wish anyway, if they really truly want it, because I don't think he's going to last.
I guess I'm trying to get to the root. Like, we as Americans, we as a society, we love to see blood and gore. You know what I mean? We love to see it. We pay for it. But when we see it happen in real life, it's the complete side of the spectrum. We don't want it. We want peace. We want harmony. We don't want this in our community. You know, so how are children supposed to decipher that when they have an adult society showing that violence is extreme, that violence is what gets people's attention, but yet this displaying violence is wrong.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the kids they're gonna see it, and there's no stopping it, because parents these days, they either don't shelter the kids from that violence, or they engage with them and show them that violence. So, you know, it's not a perfect society, as you know, and that's one of the reasons why we have kids that grow up like that, because of the parenting. You know, the parents are failing these kids. And then
Absolutely.
Then they wind up in prison.
We're definitely failing our children. Definitely failing our children. So you wanted to you actually wanted to bring some awareness to something going on within the National Guard, yes?
Yeah, the DOC has brought in the National Guard to help assist with the shortage of officers. Because I don't know if you're aware that we're about 6,000 officers short in the prisons. So Secretary Ricky Dixon decided to bring in the National Guard as a supplement to the shortage of officers. So they're bringing in roughly 325 guardsmen throughout the state or throughout certain facilities that they have them at, and they're only getting about a 1 week of training, and DOC is providing them uniforms, which is a little bit different than the officers' uniforms. So you can kind of tell, who's the officers and who's the guardsmen. But my problem is, and DOC like I do, is once you put them in a uniform, they're going to start putting them all around the compound working with inmates when they shouldn't be. Because that's the old DOC trick. Get them in there. We're going to tell everybody we're going to keep them outside the fence or away from inmates. But in reality, they're going to be working around inmates every day. Because these captains, they're going to be shorthanded. They're desperate for officers. And they're like, oh, you're a guardsman? You got a uniform? All right, go man this post. Who's going to stop them? Nobody.
That's right. When they come
Captain's
into
running
work,
the
when they
show.
come into work on that Tuesday morning and that captain's on the yard and he says, hey, I need you over here today. You know what I mean? What's he
So,
going to tell him? Nah, I'm just
technically,
supposed to be working perimeter. No, he's going to
right.
go.
So technically, they're supposed to be just on perimeter, towers, secured housing bubbles, and also inside security, which to me is a no-no because inside security, they're always around inmates. They're the ones that are going to respond to an incident in a dorm, and they're the ones that are going to have to go hands-on if there's something going on. That guardsman is not trained for that, so he shouldn't even be inside security at all.
No, he's combat trained. I mean, so his
Exactly.
first reaction is going to be combat.
Right. So I was told they're issued black polo shirts with the FDC logo and camo pants. This is what a person's telling me. And then of course they go on to say, anything camo is not supposed to be in the prison, but yet they're allowing it now for the guard. So that's one thing. And
How
also,
are they passing all of this?
they already went through the legislature and the governor already approved it. So they've already been in there. Yeah.
Has this been in the news or anything?
Oh yeah, it was in the news.
Was
Yep.
it?
Yep. They're even bringing in portable houses for them, putting it on like staff housing, like portables, and there's some sort of FEMA trailers that they're bringing in for them. Let's see what else. Oh, on the first day that one of the guardsmen showed up for duty, he actually walked out of the prison and never came back. I guess he got a reality check of what prison was like, which means to me that they had him around inmates. Because if he's just outside the fence or in a tower, I don't think he would really leave. They're getting paid very well to be working in these prisons, a lot of money.
I wonder how that pays. Are they getting double paid? Are they getting paid for?
I think they're making somewhere around $7,000 a month, and the budget, from what they said, was around 32 million for the budget, just for the guardsmen. So they're getting $60 an hour, $7,000 a month, to do what an officer's doing. Now think about that for a second. All these officers that are working double shifts, 3, 4, 5 days a week, busting their asses, have to work around inmates, and here you bring in the National Guard making all this money, and they don't even have to do anything. You're going to have more officers quitting because of the way you're getting treated. Total lack of accountability from the secretary down.
Well, it's like we were just
Crazy.
talking, Mark.
Crazy.
It's
Take that $32 million, put the damn agency back on 12-hour shifts, people will start coming back, and you won't be losing officers anymore. It's as simple as that. They just don't want to do it, because if they do it, then they have to admit that they failed with the 8-hour shift.
That's right. That's right. And that's what we were just talking about. Again, emotionals, emotional responses. And that's what this is there's no thought into it. You have me here in Florida. You have there's so many advocates that these representatives can sit down and say, listen, this is the problem. We need a fix.
Right.
And man, I will have a game plan with them in 3 days of a fix.
I don't even need 3 days.
You know what I mean?
So long, they can hear it from me in 5 minutes.
So me as an American citizen, when I sit back and I see this, how do I say, or how do I have faith that the government is for me, that these representatives are here to represent me, when I know that you and I can come up with a game plan to fix this in less than 3 days?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they're not going to listen to us. So, they're going to keep making mistakes until they're either voted out or they wake up and do the right thing.
I'm surprised I haven't heard about that in none of my groups. I'm gonna have to get into that. But
yeah, I sent you another interview I did with another group, and we specifically spoke about the National Guard, and there's a lot of good information in there that you could use, plus what I just told you now, because the information I just told you came to me after I did that interview, like the pay scale, some of the uniform stuff. Some of that stuff wasn't in the interview that I did with them.
Was that a Republican or a Democrat bill? This legislation that was passed in order to do this, was this?
Well, it got passed through the legislature. They approved it, and then the governor signed off on it. DeSantis.
But that's what I'm saying is whose bill was it? Who introduced this?
I don't even think it was a bill. It wasn't a bill.
I'm gonna look into this and see what the hell's going on, man, because that's crazy. No, because me being on the inside and knowing you're absolutely correct, and then you're gonna have these officials in there who is already in an overstressed population, and they have no experience on how to handle inmates in any kind of situation, in an already overstressed situation, and already where the state of Florida has removed visitations, has removed mail. You can't even receive mail anymore. They're trying to get rid of visitations, do everything electronic.
There's pros and cons with the mail situation. I get both sides of it, but you got to look at it from a security point as well, if you can, to understand it.
I really don't think it would be an issue if the system worked. That's the issue. You don't know how many daily messages I get of the frustration from family members because they didn't get the pictures. The video conference that they had scheduled didn't go through. You know what I mean? The system barely ever works.
True.
I don't think I would really have a problem with an electronic system, because one, the biggest thing for me as an inmate was I hated getting rid of cards. Right? My daughter would send me cards, and next thing I knew, I had 1,000 cards that I'm lugging in, and and of course, our space is very limited.
Right.
So there's a lot of pluses that come with that, with the system that works.
Right. If you go to confinement, you might lose a lot of that property. But you get that one officer who, there's many of them like that. That'll just start throwing things out. Oh, he's got too much. Throw it out.
Yeah, I just got a comment from the crowd that said, my video visit didn't go through today. My husband said, please don't cry. It's not worth it. And this is the stress on the families and whatnot. But Mark, thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time tonight on the spot the way that you did. Yeah, that's another great attribute about you, is that you're willing to talk to the people at any cost, and you're sacrificing. You have family there in the house with you. You just came from a long day of campaigning,
Oh
and you
boy,
still
I
took the
was
time
out.
to come on the show. So I greatly
I
appreciate that.
think I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, getting ready to go out, going to the polls, standing there with my sign, waving to the people, going to other locations, then coming home, doing things at home. So but when it comes to prison, I always make time for prison. Always. It's always in my heart. It's always in my heart to make sure that the right thing is done, especially for the good officers like I advocate for, and I advocate for what's right. You know that too. So, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere.
I appreciate that, partner. Well, you take care, stay blessed, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes.
Next time we talk, man, you might be a little
Well,
mayor or something.
pay attention to the news Tuesday. Watch the numbers. You'll see.
Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'll probably live stream it for real.
Okay. Sounds good.
Because I
Text
go
me.
live Tuesday anyhow, so I'll probably live stream it. But you
Yep.
take it easy, man.
All right.
All right,
See you
partner.
soon. Bye.
All right, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Now comes the special treat. So what I have now and what I'm going to be introducing into the show, the final couple minutes, is a segment called Thoughts from the Cell. And what I'm going to try to do is just reenact different scenarios, different stresses, pressures that we as inmates may go through just on a daily life that society may not really get a glimpse into. So this is live, so please bear with me. I will probably be recording these and editing them, but I'm just gonna give you a little taste of what it is. So, thoughts from the cell. Hey Jimmy, you got a stamp? Man, I need a stamp, man. I don't get my commissary till next week, and I got to get this letter to my daughter, man. It's got to go out today, Jimmy. Jimmy, let me just get a stamp. Pass the stamp down. Yeah, man, I'll get you 2 stamps when I go to the store again, man. Goodness. I got to get this letter out today, man. It's got to get there by next week to my daughter. I appreciate it. Hey, princess. How's daddy's little princess? I'm in my cell right now, and I took some time to write the most important person in my life, which is you, of course. Daddy had a dream last night that we were playing freeze tag on the beach, and we had a contest to see who built the biggest sandcastle. And you won, of course. Your sandcastle was so big. And you took my hand and showed me all the different rooms in your sandcastle. You did such a wonderful job. And as always, Daddy was very, very proud of you. I hope you're doing good in school, because school is very important. And it makes Daddy so happy to hear how good you're doing. Everybody tells Daddy what a special little lady I have and how smart you are, and I just tell them you have your daddy's brains. Do you remember our secret? And you know who you can tell when you have a secret? You can tell the man in the moon our secrets, because when I look at the moon, he will let me know what you said. So whenever you look at the moon, you let Daddy know, and know that Daddy is always looking at the moon, and I'll know what you're thinking. Always remember whose little lady you are, and I love you more than anything in this whole world. Anything. I love you, princess, and Daddy will be home soon. Love, your dad. Hey, CO. CO, I gotta get the mail out. CO. CO. What do you mean the mailman didn't come today? The mail's gotta go. It's Friday. The mail goes out. What do you mean he didn't come? I can't send it out. It's gotta go out today, CO. CO, man, come on, man. My daughter's got to get this, man. She's leaving, and if I know I shouldn't have come to prison, but I did, CO. What do you want me to do? I got to get this out. You know, I spent a lot of frustration, a lot of times like that, behind bars like this, in situations like that. And I had to come to the realization, that I was already incarcerated, and now I'm trying to be a good dad. And true enough, we can change and attempt, new things, but I can't allow the situations that I've gotten myself into to frustrate me or aggravate me because I expect people to bend when I wasn't willing to bend when it counted. When I was in prison, I was forcing people. I was trying to be a good dad. I was trying to show people that I was a good dad, really to make myself feel like I wasn't a bad dad because I was in prison. But the fact remains, I was a bad dad because of the actions that I took to go to prison. I wasn't thinking about being a good dad before I went to prison. So I sacrificed that. And it took me years to understand that and realize that before I could really just start accepting some of the things like what we just saw, So just think about these things before we allow our emotions to get out of control. I've been spending a lot this week speaking about emotions because a lot of us are constantly in them. We have no control over them. We're not even aware of it. And then when things happen, and then we have time to sit down and think about it, we realize that we should have or could have handled it much differently. So this is Thoughts from the Cell. This is what you can expect from this. If you guys have any scenarios or anything that you'd like me to reenact in a sense like that, to try to give the public a sort of feel, an in-depth look, please get a hold of me on social media. Other than that, please visit www.cominghomecoalition.com to see how you can contribute and, keep this show going and see what else we got going on. So until Tuesday night, stay blessed, stay care. Love you guys, and we out.